going out in Rockaway, you've got the school board there, and they have decided, and this is just ridiculous, folks. You know, they don't like Columbus Day, all these progressives and these liberals on these school boards. They're not going to call it Columbus Day anymore out there in Rockaway Township. It's now Indigenous Peoples Day. And this is absolutely ridiculous, and the Italian-American Coalition is standing up against it. Andre DiMino, he's the executive board member of the Italian-American Coalition. He's with us on the phone now. And Andre, I mean, I know you guys are fighting this fight, but what can you do if the school board has voted that it's going to be Indigenous Peoples Day?
Well, Michael, there's a lot of things we can do, just like we did in West Orange, New Jersey, where we filed landmark federal litigation about a violation of Italian-American civil rights, a violation of the 14th Amendment, and also what we did in Randolph, New Jersey, where we brought worldwide attention to the craziness that was on that school board, and we got it reversed there. But you do have breaking news, because last night on that board meeting, it was just incredible, where 3 of the board members said they were hoodwinked into changing the date because they didn't tell them the date was changed, and therefore the vote last night was to restore Columbus Day, but 3 of those board members showed they were anti-Italian and anti-American by not putting Columbus Day back on, and we were there in force, and they just didn't listen to us.
So the vote last night, Andre, was 3-3 to restore Columbus Day, so it's not being restored. Is that what happened?
Exactly right, Len. And what was incredible was the 3 board members first stated that they didn't know that the calendar was changed, that they voted on it without knowing because they didn't give them all the details. But there were 3 people on that board that would not listen to the fact that changing Columbus Day is what Howard Zinn wanted to do, the avowed Marxist.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And he's a avowed anarchist that hated America, and he started by going at the underpinnings of our society, by going after Columbus first and then all the others. And that's why going after Columbus is just being a useful idiot for Howard Zinn, who wanted to destroy this country. And the 3 on that board showed that's what they are, the useful idiots for Howard Zinn.
Hey, Andre, let me be devil's advocate here a little bit, and you know, I mean, I'm certainly in favor of keeping it Columbus Day, but let me just play around here.
Of course.
Why do we celebrate Columbus? You know, he got it wrong, actually. You know, he was thinking he was going to get to the Far East, and he wound up on some little island, and he really didn't accomplish what he set out to do. Why don't we have Vasco da Gama Day? He was a better explorer.
Well, it's very simple. You know, first of all, Columbus was chosen by President Harrison in 1892 to overcome the denigration and the lynchings that occurred of Italian Americans. And the reason that President Harrison decided to choose Columbus was because after Columbus, although he didn't land in the United States, as people say, he didn't discover America. And you're right, Michael. He thought he was going to India, as we all know. But nevertheless, after his voyages, that's when the world was united. And of all things, that was declared as, it's just like the moon landing nowadays in our time period. That was like a moon landing of that time, because after that, that's when the worlds were united. And candidly, that's what they're against. Western culture coming to this part of the world. And they're going after us by going after the guy that started it all.
We're on with Andre DiMino. He's the executive board member of the Italian-American One Voice Coalition. Andre, give us a little scorecard here. So you said you got it overturned in Randolph, New Jersey, so Columbus Day will continue to exist. Now, you filed a federal suit in which one of the oranges?
Yes, West Orange, New Jersey, because they removed the monument there, and they were doing it because at the time that was all that Black Lives Matter that was going on, that horrible situation, and so therefore they were respecting one group over another. So therefore that's discrimination under the 14th Amendment, and Italian Americans are a recognized group under the 14th Amendment.
Okay, so what happened with that suit?
So that suit is pending right now. That's still in federal court.
Okay.
There are other suits. For example, there was a suit down in Philadelphia, a local suit that was won for Columbus. But you have to realize that, you know, switching to Indigenous Peoples Day is just a phony thing, because Indigenous people already have August 9th. They have the day after Thanksgiving. They have the whole month of November, and we got nothing against Indigenous people. But don't fool people to think you're doing some great thing by getting rid of Columbus Day to put in Indigenous Peoples Day. The wrong thing to do.
You know, and Andre, this is, and I agree with you. I know this Howard Zinn, this commie, this Marxist historian who's had a profound and a detrimental influence on intellectual thinking in this country. There's this ridiculous notion that, well, Columbus and the West, they were all corrupt, but indigenous people, they were pure, they were innocent. You know,
Unbelievable.
they were the Indians were Native Americans, I should say. They were at war with people. They were like every other human being. They were going for power. They were fighting with each other. But the way they're portrayed is like it was paradise in America before the West came here.
Oh, exactly. That's what Howard Zinn did. He corrupted the history to show it was like a Garden of Eden when Columbus got to this part of the world, and it just wasn't. You know, we don't hold the indigenous people to today's standards. You know, and look at, like, for example, Chief Seattle. There's a statue, there's a city named after him. The reason he became a chief was because he wiped out an entire tribe, a genocide.
Exactly. Right.
It's just unbelievable. But nevertheless, let's have nothing against indigenous people. Let's just get to the fact that they're attacking Western culture. The cancel culture starts with Columbus. And that's why they're going after everything else in our history, because that's a way to destroy a culture.
Hey, Andre, so what are you going to do about this Rockaway Township deal? So right now the vote last night was 3-3 to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. Are you going to take them to court?
Well, if we have to, we will. But believe me, the public pressure in Randolph, you know, we brought worldwide attention to that. Literally, all of the networks, even in Australia, they were covering that story. And now there are board members that are up for re-election, and there's a whole movement for people that are running against those board members at the school board. You know, these school boards, they control millions of dollars in taxpayers' money. People, and you see now people are going there for CRT and so forth. You know, people have to get involved with the school boards because they're teaching our young. And by the way, Michael, just as you pointed out, there's the Howard Zinn Education Project that has a full curriculum that is just ubiquitous throughout the country. It's horrible.
No, I agree with you 100%, 100%. All right. Andre DiMino, executive board member of the Italian American One Voice Coalition, fighting the good fight. And just you got to give it up for Columbus. And by the way, Andre, Italian Americans have every right to celebrate their heritage and not have it denigrated by these crazy people on these school boards.
Well, absolutely. In fact, why are we the only ethnicity that's asked to either share a holiday or give up a holiday? Columbus is an iconic symbol to Italian Americans as an apology or an atonement for the discrimination, denigration, and lynchings that our ancestors faced. Why do we have to give up, or why do we have to be told who or when we can celebrate? No other group is put in that position.
When Columbus landed on that little island, do you think he realized he wasn't in India? Because India is a bit bigger than the island he wound up on. Did he figure it out?
No, well, he didn't figure it out up front, but later on he did do it with his 4 voyages and then all of the settlements that came afterwards. So it was obvious after that, and that's why Amerigo Vespucci made that map and why this country is called after another Italian.
Right. So Columbus, I mean, we celebrate him, but he wasn't the brightest guy on the planet, apparently, right?
Well, he was a great navigator, but unfortunately at that time they didn't know what the world looked like.
They didn't have Waze. All right.
Right.
Thanks, Andre.
Andre DiMino, executive board member of the Italian American One Voice Coalition. Thanks, Andre. Always a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you.